Welcome back to episode 9 of the Empire Sports and Mind podcast. The Jets lost their season finale to the Dolphins 11-6, and the Giants lost to the Eagles 22-16. And the Yankees made some front office moves, and the Knicks are on a 4-game winning streak. We'll discuss that all and more. Let's start with the Jets.
Yeah, Matthew. I mean, this game meaningless going in, the first meaningless game of the year. Usually those start around Halloween for the Jets. Different this time around. Going into the game, I'm like, it's hard for me because it's like you're rooting for the Jets for 16 games, and like obviously like them losing is probably more beneficial because this game actually like it would have been nice to knock out the Dolphins out of the playoffs. They're a rival, but to me, losing this game wasn't the worst thing in the end for the Jets. They get a better draft position. Joe Flacco, I kind of owe him a little bit of an apology. I kind of just called him the Walking Dead. He looked like a capable backup out there. I don't know your thoughts on him, but to me, he looked like he was capable out there. He didn't look like he looked a little more mobile than he did in recent games coming in. Looked like he was ready to go. I give him. I don't think his performance was that bad. It wasn't great by any means, but it surprised. He surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, and he's a capable backup. He was a very good starter in Baltimore. Sometimes we forget that he was obviously he led that team to a Super Bowl. And was he great this game? No, but was he fine? He did. Honestly, the scheme does not set him up for success. We'll discuss that later. Obviously, with the offensive coordinator, he's rumored to be a potential candidate to be released. But I thought every pass that he should have made, he made, and he was just fine to me.
I know, and Garrett Wilson, I mean, single-handedly carried the Jets' offense. I think that game, Joe Flacco just kept throwing him the ball, looking his way, which I love that. You wanted the guy. He had a 100-yard reception. That last 100-yard game after that last play went down to 89, so kind of screwed him over there with that last play. They got a safety at the end. I don't know what they were doing there, but Joe Flacco, capable backup, looks like, in my opinion, I think he should retire. I think he's done. But gave it a good last run. For me, the run defense was really disappointing this game. Everything else, the defense played pretty well this game, but the run defense looked like easy 9 yards every play for the Dolphins. Got a first down every run. Just seemed like they were shredding through them. Quincy Williams probably was the best of Jets defensive player along with Sauce Gardner as always, but Quincy Williams really stood out to me, played really well. I think they should bring him back. Linebacker position is going to be a need in the offseason, but bring him back. Always good to have depth in the linebacker position. He really played well to me. I think he deserves to come back for the Jets.
Yeah, I know. I personally was really scrutinizing this Jets linebacker room and specifically Quincy Williams because obviously C.J. Mosley was a Pro Bowler, and Quincy Williams really stepped up. He had 3 tackles for a loss, a sack, and 9 solo tackles. That's a great game. It seemed like he was all over the field. He was reading the Dolphins' offense really well, and credit to him. And yeah, credit to the Jets. They got 9 QB hits. It only translated to 1 sack, which is a little bit unlucky, but I thought they did a good job generating pressure. And yeah, as you talked about, the real weakness there was the running game, but overall they did a really solid job. They only gave up really 9 points.
And the Jets offensive line, right? I mean, looked horrible. They're playing, I think they're up to like their 6, 7 stringer. Looked like the running backs, every time they got handed off the ball, there was no space at all. The Bam Knight, I think, had 22 yards, top leading rusher. Horrible. That needs to get addressed in the offseason. I know they had a lot of injuries. Herbig, George Font, and Dwayne Brown was out this game. So those were 3 of your starters were out. So, that hurt them. But look, I just didn't mind how the Jets played. I'm not really going to, look, the offense wasn't great. They really couldn't move the ball. It was a kind of a punt fest between both teams. Jets defense played well outside the run defense. I'm not going to be really mad with how they played. Kind of turned out well in the grand scheme of things. I know you don't want your team to lose, but in a draft position, being out of it would have been nice to knock out the Dolphins, but whatever. Would you rather really see the Steelers? And it doesn't matter. The Dolphins are going to get knocked out anyway. We'll discuss those games later, but they're going to get knocked out by the Bills anyway. But yeah, good. Honestly, don't really mind the day for the Jets. I was disappointed after they had a no-show in Seattle, but after this game, I really wasn't upset. The season was over anyway, so I'm not really going to be mad that they lost.
Yeah, a lot of you talked about the rushing games. It's really been ineffective now for 4 or 5 straight weeks. A lot of that blame is placed on the offensive line. I saw some guys on the Jets offensive line who were on the Giants offensive line, like backups on the Giants offensive line in 2019 when the Giants were ranked number 32 overall. So I think that's indicative of the state of the Jets offensive line. It was really in shambles. Seems like they were just piecing it together as they went. But yeah, they get a better draft position losing this. And as somebody who's not a Jets fan, I was saying this throughout the game. I thought it was better that the Jets lost this game than winning this game. Winning this game would have been meaningless. it's not like Zach Wilson would have had a great. He didn't start. I mean, Joe Flacco, if he loses, who cares? And I think it's all things. The Jets didn't play well, but losing this game was beneficial.
Yes, and now we're going to discuss coaching changes. It's always people often make emotional decisions. The Jets ended off the season with a 6-game losing streak. They were 7-4 at one point, 6-3 after the bye, and the season collapsed. Right, they were kind of a shoo-in when they were 7-4 for the playoffs. Looked pretty likely they were going there. Disaster at end of the season for the Jets. That leads people to believe that all right, maybe the coaches changes to be made with the GM possibly, offensive coordinator. In my opinion, Robert Saleh deserves one more year. I think there should be a playoff mandate for him. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't want to hear any excuses last year. I think the team should make the playoffs, and if they don't, he should be fired. But he deserves one more chance because the continuing of coaching the carousel that always happens with the Jets. Every 2 years they fire someone. Just not going to work. You need some continuity, and I understand they had to look at the changes with Mike LaFleur. Should he be fired? In my opinion, I'm 50-50 on this. I'm fine if they fire him, but if they keep him, I think they need to bring a veteran coach that has called plays before in with him to help him with the game planning and stuff. Matthew, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't fire Robert Saleh or Joe Douglas. There was a report yesterday that said people close to Lee Johnson believe that at least he's going to have to totally evaluate these positions, and there might be a chance that they fire Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh. But personally, I wouldn't do that. I think the guy to fire, and I know you're 50-50 about this, but personally, I think I would fire Mike LaFleur. The scheme just hasn't really clicked. I know Garrett Wilson has flourished under this system, but aside from him, everyone else there are players on this offense who have talent. Without a doubt, Elijah Moore has talent. Even some of these running backs, Michael Carter was drafted in the 3rd round for a reason. Zach Wilson, he was a very good college quarterback, and these people just did not look good at the NFL level. And at some point, I think you have to place some blame on the offensive coordinator.
Look, when the Jets hired Robert Saleh, he brings in Mike LaFleur. Robert Saleh is a rookie head coach. He brings in Mike LaFleur, who has never called plays in the NFL before in a game. He's a rookie play caller and with the rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson. That from the get-go, you're expecting really, what can you expect? I mean, these guys are rookies. They're going to make mistakes. Look, Mike LaFleur, as I said, if they fire, I'm not really on you have to fire this guy 100%. No, but I think it's worth looking at. But in my opinion, I think bringing in a veteran play caller, there was names mentioned today, Gary Kubiak, who's been out of the NFL for about 2 years. I think he was with Minnesota. Great veteran mind. I think it would be beneficial bringing in a guy like him, like a veteran play caller who would help Mike LaFleur. Now, I know Mike LaFleur is not perfect, but I think he's a good mind. And honestly, firing him, it's not going to like solve everything. I know your gut instinct's like, oh, the offense looked terrible. The scheme's not perfect. Fire him. That's not going to fix everything immediately. I know it's worth looking at because the offense struggled, but I don't think it's going to fix everything right away. I think it's honestly, as I'm continuing my conversation, I think it's honestly more beneficial to bring in a veteran and continuing the scheme because the players, if you change the scheme 100%, I think the players are going to not benefit from that. I think it's going to hurt their development. Players like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. So in my opinion, I would bring in a veteran mind. What are your thoughts? I don't know. I think they should just bring in a veteran mind and help LaFleur. I think that maybe strip him of his play calling abilities, maybe still keep him in the front office, but we'll see what happens. I don't know what to do exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, yeah, as you said, this is his first time calling plays. I don't know if you release him, if he's going to want to stay with the Jets organization. So I think if you move on from him as a play caller and as the offensive coordinator, he's likely going to leave. But even the personnel, this was a week to me where the Jets should see what they have with guys like Jeremy Ruckert, who we've been talking a lot about on this podcast, who's a 3rd round pick who's seen no action this year. And he was on for a couple plays on one of the drives and he got a reception for 8 yards. But otherwise, I don't know. I just don't like who they're sending out there. I just wish this is a meaningless game. Why don't they give some of their prospects, some of their younger guys a chance? I just didn't see that. I was a little upset.
Jeremy Ruckert. He was out there for, I think it was like 25% of snaps in the run game. Amazing blocker. There was some reps I saw on Twitter, really just running over these talented guys on defense for the Dolphins. Looked really motivated to play. Look, this guy's a Long Island kid, grew up a Jets fan. I saw his dad on Twitter after he got that reception. He's like, oh, I'm so proud of my son playing for my favorite team, getting reception. That was an awesome moment to see that. It's just a great story. Jeremy Ruckert, look, I know they brought in Tyler Conklin. They brought in CJ Uzomah. Those are 2 good free agents that they got. Kind of made it hard to get Jeremy Ruckert involved early. I think they should have at least tried to make him active. Try him on some snaps, right? Because I know Tyler Conklin had a good year catching wise. He had like about 500 yards, which was good for the tight end position for a change for the Jets. Usually tight ends a weakness. I think Tyler Conklin did a good job. I think he was stable. He's not great. He's not a great tight end, but he's a good tight end to have on your team. I think Jeremy Ruckert should have got more opportunities there in the passing game. Blocking game looks like it looks like he's a legit run blocker, which they should use him more next year in that department.
Yeah. Yeah, I echo a lot of what you said. I just no, and yeah, Jeremy Ruckert's one of those players, but I think for the most part, we saw all of the Jets starters this game, and maybe they can play 50% of the snaps, but I just want to see some more, rookies, guys on second and third on the depth chart, because after all, you really are evaluating for next year, and this was an opportunity to do so, and they just didn't.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. Woody Johnson, stay out of the Jets' decision-making. This guy is so emotional sometimes. He fires these coaches based off pure emotion. Stay out of their decisions. A lot of people are saying, I heard there's rumors that are like, he's very disappointed with Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas. Woody Johnson, do not take your emotions out of this. Keep Robert Saleh one year. I don't want to see him firing him based off emotion. This guy has to stay out of it. He knows nothing about football. The bottom line is, yeah, I'm happy he's involved with the team. I like that he shows he cares. Shows like he seems like he cares about the fans and everything with interactions there. But stay out of the football decision making. You don't know anything about this game. Stay out of it. Let these guys, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, who you hired, trust them, and you just need to stay out of it, man. This guy cannot make these careless decisions based off emotion. I know they collapsed. The season was a disappointing ending after they went 6-3, 7-4. The expectations shifted a little bit of making the playoffs, but you have to stick to the course. Look, Robert Saleh, he's entering his third year. I think it should be a make it or break a year for him. Bring in a veteran quarterback, see what he could do. See what Mike LaFleur do if they keep him. See what he could do with the veteran quarterback. As I said, veteran play caller in there. Get a guy like that in there. And stick the course. This is your third year. I know rebuilds take shorter than 5 years now in the NFL. It's changed a little bit, but stick the course and don't make a stupid decision.
Yeah, and when you look at it, if you're hiring a new general manager, the new general manager is going to want a new coach. And even if you're just hiring a new coach, the new coach is going to want a new quarterback. So every time you hire somebody like a new general manager, it totally resets the process. So I know this is Joe Douglas. Now he's been around for a little while. But I think the Jets, in the long run, you have to look at this. The Jets are better than they were last year, and they're better than they were 2 years ago when Robert Saleh first took the job. So in that aspect, they're improving slowly. I know rebuild, it's not like an expedited rebuild with the Giants where they're in the playoffs on their first year, but it's still, there's been progress. And, as Jets fans, as the owner, you have to see that and you have to recognize that.
Yeah, you're right about that. Like, looking at the beginning of the season, we said it many times, the expectation was for them to play meaningful games in December. That was the hope. And look, the expectations, they shifted after they started really well. If they did. It did shift. Like, the fans were expecting to make the playoffs, and which it was reasonable at the time, right? But you can't just sit here and say, oh, the season. I hear a lot of people saying the season was a waste of time and all after the season. What a waste. I mean, come on, you cannot say that. This guy's like Garrett Wilson. Now he's a wide receiver one. Brees Hall, before he got hurt, looked like a legit superstar at the running back position. You have guys like Sauce Gardner, probably the best cornerback in the league this year, right? You have guys like DJ Reed, great free agent signing. I mean, you have so many foundational building blocks. Quinnen Williams, who's due to get paid this offseason, he said actually today that he would consider skipping voluntary workouts if he doesn't get paid by April. They should pay your guy. He's your guy, homegrown talent. Pay him right now. This is the time to do it. Like, you have foundational pieces. This is a season that, look, I know the disappointing was ending, and look, people are going to hate to hear this, but this season was a good foundational building block for the team. I think it's going to be beneficial for them in years to come. They got a taste of what meaningful football is like in December, and look, I know they lost all those games, obviously, but I think it's good for them that they got a taste of those meaningful games in cold weather. I think it's going to be beneficial for the team for years to come.
Yeah, and going back to the beginning of the year, like you mentioned, I think I specifically said 4 to 5 wins, and I think generally Jets fans agreed with this. 4 to 5 wins is a disappointing season. 6 or 7 wins, 6, 7, 8 wins is kind of what you expect, and above that would be a really successful season, kind of surprising in a lot of ways. But the Jets fell right smack in the middle of that, and it was kind of the season we expected at the beginning. And you can't fault the coach. Were the players fired up those last 5 weeks? No, it didn't really seem like it. But all in all, They ended up right where we expected them. The majority of the fan base, the beat writers, everyone. So now for everyone saying, "Oh,
Well,
it's a successful season,"
Matthew,
yeah.
and I expected that. Let's give a little praise to me. I predicted the Jets record. Let's not talk about the Giants record that I predicted, but let's talk about got it right. 7-10. Probably the first Jets record prediction that I've gotten right in my life ever, probably. But I'll just say that. All right, we'll move on to the Giants now. Giants JV team versus the Eagles varsity team. 22-16. You got to be happy with what you saw. A good effort from the Giants. Didn't seem like they were not motivated to play. Their backups looks good. Of course, some starters play. They only have 56 roster spots, so you're gonna have some starters play. They looked pretty good. I think the Eagles should be disappointed with I know they locked up the 1 seed, but the Giants were in this game till the end. As they had an onside kick opportunity there, and the Giants looked pretty good in my opinion. I don't think that you should be mad. Look, they had the 6 seed lockup, so this game didn't matter, but that was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and we're not even considering the fact that the Giants tried an onside kick to start the second half. The Giants tried a fake field goal. The Giants tried another trick play. All 3 of these plays were unsuccessful. But the fake field goal got sacked for an 11-yard loss. The other fake play got sacked for a 2-yard loss, and the onside kick was not recovered by the Giants. And they still managed to keep this game 22-16. No, I think it's the Giants. If they had their starters in, I'm really convinced. Maybe I'm not convinced overall, but I'm convinced specifically in this game, they certainly would have defeated the Eagles. And Davis Webb played well, and I have no complaints about how the Giants played this game.
Yeah, and it looked like Jalen Hurts didn't look. He looked pretty good. Didn't look like he was 100% there with the injury. Congratulations to Kenny Golladay, first touchdown as a Giant ever in his second season. Big free agent money. Kind of earned his contract with that catch, right, Matthew? I'm kidding there, but that was an insane catch.
First and last touchdown catch as a Giant.
Some people in my ear saying that he's gonna turn it up with the playoffs. Maybe he's not gonna start for them in the playoffs. Some people are like, oh, maybe this catch will build some confidence for him. Get the heck out! This guy stinks. I mean, really, that was an insane. I gotta give him credit. That's catch of the year one of the catch of the year candidates.
I mean, it was a little bit of a vintage Kenny Golladay, but still, he's been terrible all year, unreliable. Even this game, I think he had 7 targets and only 2 receptions. There were some balls where it seemed like he could have reached out and tried to make a grab. On the whole, beside that catch, he was terrible. He would have had 1 reception for 5 yards the entire game, and he played 100% of the snaps. Maybe does he get some more red zone snaps in the playoffs? Does he get 1 or 2 red zone snaps? Maybe, but he's not playing in the playoffs. Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton will all get meaningful, significant playing time in the playoffs.
And I guess we'll move on to preview the matchup: New York Giants super wild card weekend. What they call it now, it's kind of ridiculous, but Giants facing the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Faced them earlier in the year, a couple weeks ago. Only lost by a 62-yard field goal at the end. Giants have a shot in this game. I would call it a 50-50 shot. I think they have a really good chance to win. Minnesota's a hostile crowd. It's gonna be rocking there. But the Giants, look, Brian Daboll, with him at the helm, I think you have a chance to beat anybody in the playoffs, in my opinion. But especially Minnesota Vikings, who I think are absolute frauds. I think the Giants can absolutely win this game.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, how many times have we talked about Kirk Cousins in primetime? Kirk Cousins in the playoffs. He always flounders, struggles, succumbs to the pressure. I don't think this is going to be any different. The Giants have been a team all year that have forced pressure, that have forced third down incompletions, that have forced field goals in the red zone. And, in the playoffs, the only way to get past that, if you're a good defense, is a good quarterback. And I don't think the Vikings have. Kirk Cousins is okay. He's serviceable. I'm not going to say Kirk Cousins is trash, but I don't think he's that quarterback that can really break the Giants defense, which has been solid all year.
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins I feel like he's a little underrated. Now, I know a lot of people are hating him. Like, he's a solid quarterback. Is he a guy like, Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert? No, he's not. But he's not a guy that could get it done. And with the Giants going to have a tough task shutting down Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, good wide receiver core there. It's going to be a tough task, but the Giants are getting their guys healthy in the cornerback and safety position, getting a lot of guys back there. I think they have a good shot to lock. I mean, look, Jefferson's going to have 70, 80 yards. If you hold him to under 100, I think they have a good shot of winning this game because he's a big playmaker. And if you hold him, they have Dalvin Cook as well, but if you hold him, you have a good shot because the Vikings defense is nothing to boast about. Their defense is kind of good. It's not that great. Giants can easily score points on this. I think if the Giants score, I think if they score 24 points, they could probably win this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think the Giants offense, when they faced Minnesota a couple weeks ago, They sliced right through that defense. And yeah, the key is holding Justin Jefferson to maybe just around 100 yards. That'd be successful if they were able to do that. And the Giants are getting back their top cornerback, Adoree Jackson. Seems like it's not a certainty yet, but it appears that they will have him back, and that's going to be huge for the Giants. He's been so important to this team. The wide receiver one stats from the first half of the year and the second half of the year are drastic. That'll be huge for him.
Another big key is Kirk Cousins. He's playing at 4:00. Primetime Kirk Cousins is not. I know it's not an 8:00 game, but you don't want him play the 1:00 numbers versus like the 4 and 8:00 numbers for Kirk Cousins. Drastic difference. He doesn't show up in these primetime games, so hopefully the Giants get lucky there. But I think if the Giants' main key in offense is Saquon Barkley, if he performs like he did in the last few weeks, I think that's going to be huge for them. But if he's a no-show and the Vikings shut him down, I think the Vikings are going to do whatever it takes to shut him down. You got to get him involved early. You got to get him going, the running game going very early in this game. But the Vikings are going to try their best to stop him. But if he gets going, vintage Saquon Barkley, I really like the Giants' chances. And want to get into our pick segment now, Matthew?
Yep, sure.
First time we're introducing our pick segment this year. Next year in the NFL season, we could do it all year, maybe a couple picks a week. But in the playoffs, we're going to make our picks on every game based on the Vegas odds spread. And we'll start it right now. So, So first we start with the Seattle Seahawks going to San Francisco against the 49ers. And I am taking Seattle to cover that game. I think that's a huge spread, 10. I know. Look, I'm riding with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. I don't think they're going to win this game outright, but I think they're going to cover those points. Geno Smith is now the all-time leader in passing yards this season. He passed Russell Wilson for most yards in a season ever in Seattle Seahawks franchise. Congratulations to him. I'm really happy for this man. Rooting for Geno. They're going to cover this spread. Next, we go to Jacksonville, where they just won the division there. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, whole lot of credit to them against the Chargers. The line is 1. Chargers by 1. I think that is very low. I think the Chargers are going to win this game outright, cover that one point there. I think Jacksonville has a shot in this game. It's in Jacksonville. The crowd's going to be rocking there. They've been a laughingstock for a few years. The crowd has been waiting this for a long time now. But I think I think the Chargers are going to get it done. Justin Herbert in his 3rd year versus Trevor Lawrence in his 2nd year. Justin Herbert gets it done in this game. Matthew, you go to your two first games there.
Yep, on Saturday we have, again, as you said, 49ers, Seahawks, and Jaguars, Chargers. I think the 49ers are a really good team. I was nervous when the Vikings won that 1 o'clock game this past week in Week 18. I was afraid that the 49ers would lose their late window game and the Giants would have to face the 49ers because I think they're such a better team than the Vikings. It's a huge gap to me. With that being said, 10 points. I think the 49ers will cover. Their defense is spectacular. Seattle's defense is not as good, and Seattle's offense is their strength. And I think the 49ers will be able to neutralize the defense and cover the spread. Now we have Jaguars-Chargers. As you said, it's a toss-up. A 1-point spread indicates whoever wins the game is going to cover the spread, basically. So I think the Chargers are a much better team than the Jaguars. The Chargers, in every positional group, seem to have an edge. I would take Herbert over Trevor Lawrence. I would take the Chargers Eckler over ETN. I would take the Chargers. They have some really good defensive players. Joey Bosa, a couple other good defensive players. Derwin James. I would take the Chargers to win this game, which means I'm taking them to cover the spread.
All right, we go to Buffalo Sunday at 1 o'clock. CBS is a CBS vehicle. Probably will be Jim Nantz and Tony Romo there. I have the Dolphins. The line is 10.5, and I have the Dolphins covering that. I think that's a huge spread. It's a divisional game. I know Miami could get Tua back, but I think they're going to cover this. I know the quarterback position is uncertainty there, whether you're going to get him back. He's going to be questionable for the game. Tua, I think he ultimately plays this game. I know as crazy as it sounds, I think he plays this game, and they cover that spread. I think the Bills win the game outright, however. Next, we go to Minnesota. Game we just talked about, the Giants go to Minnesota, face the Vikings. I have the Vikings covering those 3 points there. I think that game is a toss-up in my opinion, but I think Kirk Cousins, I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a great standout day. I think the Vikings are going to defeat the Giants there. We'll see. I think that anything can happen there. I'm not really that confident in that pick, but we'll see. It's a toss-up.
Yep. Now we have Bills-Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins to cover this game. It's a divisional matchup. It's a rivalry matchup. I think the Dolphins will have at least Teddy Bridgewater back, who's an upgrade over Skylar Thompson, who's a 7th-round Mr. Irrelevant type player. I think that the Dolphins, getting Teddy Bridgewater or even Tua back, if you hear that news, if you hear that Tua's going to come back, that spread is going to move down to 6.57. I guarantee it's at least 3 points having Tua back. And for that reason, since I think they are going to have one of those guys back, the Dolphins will cover the spread. It's a rivalry game. It's a good matchup. And then we have Vikings-Giants. I really believe the Giants are going to win this game, which means they're going to cover the 3 points, the Vikings 3-point spread. The Giants barely lost to the Vikings. They also had a 61-yard field goal. Not to mention, the Giants were missing their star safety and star cornerbacks in that game. And they still managed to compete against the Vikings. Also, the Giants had self-inflicted wounds that game. They had 2 fumbles, 2 turnovers in the red zone. And now we're looking at a game where it's the playoffs. Everyone's a little more focused. I think the Giants will pull this off.
Love it. Love it. Next we go Sunday Night Football to Cincinnati, where the Ravens and Bengals, division rivals, face off. I have the Baltimore Ravens covering the spread 6.5. Lamar Jackson is expected to play this game. Future Jet quarterback Lamar Jackson is going to. Honestly, I can see this game's going to be a toss-up. Cincinnati is my team to go to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to cover the spread, but I think Cincinnati is going to win. But they're going to cover that those 6.5 points. I think that's a lot. It's a divisional game. Lamar Jackson's going to be fired up in his return, and he's going to make the game very close. Next, we go to the last game, Monday Night Football in Tampa Bay. Kind of a joke that they're hosting a game, but that division was a joke. But whatever. That's it is what it is. Cowboys face them. The line is Cowboys by 3, and I think they're going to cover that. They're going to cover that by a lot. They're going to win this. They're going to blow out the Buccaneers. I don't think the Buccaneers have any shot at winning this game. Buccaneers got by a very easy division. Just horrible. I mean, how are they hosting a home game? Just besides me. But Tom Brady, people say not to bet against him. I'm betting against him. I think this is his last hurrah in Tampa Bay. He's going to leave them after this season. First round exit for Tom Brady.
Okay. Bengals Ravens. I have the Bengals covering. Here's why. I think Lamar Jackson comes back from a knee injury. And it's rumored that even if he plays, there will still be residual swelling in the knee. Half of Lamar Jackson's game is running the ball. We all know this. He's a spectacular runner. If he has a swollen knee, how much is he going to be able to run? That's half the Ravens' game. We've seen how bad the Ravens look with guys like Tyler Huntley or even this past week, Anthony Brown at quarterback. Their offense has not looked proficient at all with those players. I think that the Bengals are a very good team. They're going to cover the spread. Joe Burrow's a great quarterback, and Lamar Jackson's not going to look great this game, I think. So I'll have the Bengals covering. And then Buccaneers, Cowboys. I've been teetering back and forth on this one. This is the hardest one to pick for me, but I'm picking the Buccaneers. Here's why. I think the Buccaneers, have you ever watched Tom Brady in the playoffs before and thought, oh, the team's not good, team's not going to win, wide receivers aren't good, offensive line isn't good, defense isn't good? I've heard every excuse in the book, everything in the book saying, oh, Tom Brady's team's not going to win because of some certain position group. Tom Brady always manages to win these games. They're at home. Their team, even if you look, you can say that the Buccaneers haven't played well this year. There's still so much talent. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, a solid offensive line, some really good players on the defensive side of the ball, Vita Vea, all those guys. And it's still a talented team. I think the Buccaneers will not only cover, but they're going to win the game, and it's going to result in the Cowboys firing Mike Evans.
Wow. That is some bold prediction, Matthew. I love it. I love the passion behind these picks that you have here. Yeah, I mean, these games are going to be so fun to watch. The game that I'm most looking forward to is probably Chargers-Jaguars. 2 young guns, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert in Jacksonville. They just won the division. That's going to be an exciting game. Look, these games, Seattle and 49ers, probably not going to be close games, but it's going to be interesting to watch Geno Smith in the playoffs after the Seattle Seahawks are probably projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL in the beginning of the season. That's going to be interesting to watch. All these games, Dolphins, Bills, as Jets fan, I don't really know who to root for in that game. Probably the Bills because the Damar Hamlin stuff. I'm rooting for them, pulling for that team. But yeah, these games going to be this weekend's going to be a whole lot of. I'm really looking forward to this super wild card weekend.
Yeah, a lot of good games here. A lot of some divisional matchups we've talked about. I think a lot of these games are going to be close. Obviously, playoff football is exciting. The script is a little bit better. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of good games. I'm happy that they're spread out across the weekend. And that there's a game at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Be a lot of football, a lot of good games. I'm excited.
I'm so excited, Matthew. Let's hope we get a good playoffs. Let's hope we. Oh, actually, right now, it'll be interesting. I don't know what's happening with my camera. It's all glitching out and stuff. I don't know what's going on there. But right now, let's make our Super Bowl picks. I think out of the AFC, Cincinnati Bengals are going to come out of the AFC. And the NFC, I'm picking the 49ers. I think their defense is so dominant. Brock Purdy's playing like he's playing the NFL for 10 years now. He looks really experienced, not really turning over the ball much. The defense is, oh my God, it's so good. You have Bosa, you have all those guys that have been on the team for 5 years now. It looks like they've just always had a great defense, and especially this year, they're putting it together. Guys are staying healthy. Oh my gosh, that team's so scary. Those are my picks. I'm picking Cincinnati and 49ers to go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. If you asked me maybe 24, 48 hours ago, I would have said the Eagles are coming out of the NFC. They have such a good defense. They have such a good offense, obviously diverse offense, receivers, running game. After this game against the Giants, they played their starters. They played 100%. 100, really, most of their guys, I can't think of anybody notable except for Lane Johnson, who's out. I don't think the Eagles are a great team. I'm taking the 49ers as well. I just don't see another team that can compete with them. The Vikings are not good. The Cowboys and Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have been terrible all year, and I think the Cowboys are going to be eliminated in the first game. And then the Seahawks, I think the 49ers are going to potentially blow them out. In the AFC, I can't bet against one of the Chiefs or the Bills. I think the Bills have struggled against the Jets this year. They've struggled against some not-so-good teams, which I'm not going to pick the Bills. I have to pick the Chiefs. The Chiefs, we've been saying this forever. They have they have the best quarterback in the league. It seems like these running backs that they have are excellent. They have 6 yards, 7 yards a pop. I don't even know who these running backs are. Obviously, great receivers, great tight end, great offensive line, and I think they have a top 5 sacks leader in Chris Jones. Such a plethora of weapons. I just can't bet against them. I take them to win the Super Bowl as well.
Hey, I mean, if I'm a betting man, the Chiefs always a good bet, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league, so exciting to watch. It looks like every single wide receiver there produces. As you said, the running back. It looks like everyone they have there just gels in that offense that Andy Reid runs. Literally everyone. I mean, Patrick Mahomes obviously makes them better players as it is, but everyone seems to gel in that offense. Great picks, Matthew. I like the picks this week. Let's see what happens. We'll keep track of our records, see how we do in the grand scheme of things when the playoffs are over, but it should be exciting. Now we'll move to some basketball talk. The New York Knicks, winners of 4 straight. Jalen Brunson, awesome. Julius Randle looks probably maybe better than he did 2 years ago in his career year. Looks really efficient, scoring, defense, everything. The hustle that he's showing every game. Just really like the way that he's playing. Jalen Brunson continues to be rock solid, and the team is just gelling. I mean, they're rolling right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Julius Randle's playing some of the best basketball in his career. In the past month, I think he's averaging close to 30 points a game, maybe 20, 29. And this stretch has really led me to believe that I think the Knicks really need to make a trade to offload some talent. There are guys who are really talented in the Knicks 12, 13-man roster who are not getting chances to play. I know Obi Toppin's been out of the rotation recently because he's coming back from injury. But when he comes back, he's going to have to take away a spot from somebody who's been playing really well, either Jericho Sims or Isaiah Hardenstein. I really think they need to make a trade to offload one of their maybe either power forwards in Julius Randle and Obi Toppin, because Julius Randle has proved that he can play at elite level in a lot of minutes and doesn't need Obi Toppin, or shooting guard where they have Quickly and Grimes who have both been playing well. And R.J. Barrett coming back is going to probably put them back into the bench.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see I don't know what's going on. I look like the Grim Reaper out here, honestly. I don't know what's going on, but whatever. We'll go past it. But it's gonna be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. Like, what position is like the biggest thing for the Knicks? It's like it seems like every position's kind of producing. You could say shooting guard, like point guard. No, they've Quickly and Brunson. I don't think they're gonna improve there. Center, I don't. I think center is probably the position to get, because Hartstein. What's that guy's name? Hartstein. He's all right.
Robinson.
He's a good producer. Mitch Robinson, I like a lot. He's playing very well on the defensive side of the ball. But, I think you can always have a big man that gets you through the playoffs, that helps you win those games. I think center is the position to look at.
Yeah, I think I like Mitchell Robinson. I think he's been playing well. I think he's been really underappreciated. At the same time, it feels like the Knicks are just missing. I don't even care who it is. I think the Knicks have to get a star who's proven, who everyone knows is, a 30-point-a-game player, or is a center, like a 15-rebound-a-game, 15-point-a-game. I just want them to get that proven star. I don't want them to hesitate to trade guys like Quentin Grimes or Miles McBride or Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett, even if you're getting somebody like Donovan Mitchell, which they had the opportunity to do, and shying away from these trades because they already have guys who are okay. I think it's time for the Knicks to make a trade to make them great, to make them get to have a great player. and that's what I'm looking for them to do in the offseason.
Yeah, well, that's an off-season thing. I don't know. The trade deadline, it doesn't look like as of right now anything can change in the NBA. We've seen it time and time again where things change overnight with the stars requesting out. But yeah, you're right. The offseason thing to look at is to require that number one guy that could win you a championship. Honestly, I don't think the Knicks are that far away from that standpoint. I think if they trade for a number one, it's going to take a lot of assets. But as you said, a lot of assets that they have are not really playing, and they're not really playing a role in them winning. So what honestly, you get rid of those. You can offload those guys. It's worth it if you're going to get number one guy. Like as you said, 30-point guy a game. Maybe Kevin Durant. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Maybe Kevin Durant. He requested a trade last offseason. That's forgotten by many because he's playing so well for the Nets right now. They're rolling, but he requested a trade. Who knows if he still wants out? I know New York Knicks. He's not a fan of James Dolan. We know all that. But Kevin Durant's the guy that I'm looking at. And if he becomes available, you do whatever it takes. You trade 5 first-round picks for him. I don't care. You do whatever it takes to land the guy.
Yeah, without a doubt. And even in hindsight, if the Knicks were to have traded somebody like Grimes or RJ Barrett, the replacement for those players, if they were, let's say they would have traded RJ Barrett, Grimes, and 2 first, maybe a pick swap or something for Donovan Mitchell. Let's look. So Donovan Mitchell replaces Quentin Grimes at shooting guard, and then Cam Reddish replaces RJ Barrett. Cam Reddish hasn't even been playing. He's a good player. He's not a bad player. So I don't understand why the Knicks were so hesitant to make this trade for a star. It looks like they would have improved on the whole. I just don't understand. I hope they rectify the situation in the offseason, not the trade deadline.
Absolutely. I think the Knicks have to look at, it's an offseason thing to get that star, but I'm talking about like this trade deadline. There's ways to improve. There's going to be players made available. And honestly, they should be buyers because there's a 6 seed right now. I think that they're at least going to make it. I think they're at least going to be like the 7 or 8 seed in the play-in, where they're not going to have to play. They're not going to have to win 2 games in a row. I think they'll be at least top 8 in the conference. Look, I think the Knicks should be big buyers at the trade deadline. I think they have a chance to. Look, they're not championship contenders, but I think they have a chance to make a little bit of a run at it. I think they have a chance, but obviously you have teams like the Bucks, you have teams like the Nets. Looks like they're going to take it at maybe the Celtics. The East is kind of loaded, front loaded in that standpoint. I don't think they have a chance to make it out of the East, but you never know. They could go on a little run. Playoff atmosphere at MSG is electric. I hope we get a lot of games. Honestly, I hope we see the Rangers and the Knicks like in '94 in the playoffs at the same time and making big runs. That'd be awesome for the city. And I love watching MSG playoff games. There's nothing like it. That'd be so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. As I agree with you, the Eastern Conference is really top loaded. Those teams, Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and maybe Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like those are the de facto top 4, and then maybe 5 is Cleveland, and then the Knicks really fall into that 6-7 category. You hope to maybe sneak in without doing the play-in or maybe a 6 seed. But I think the Knicks are at this point. I consider them a lock to make the playoffs, and we'll see the matchups obviously as they come. But I think they're a pretty good team. There's not, as you mentioned, there's not like a really clear hole of where they could improve or really like a sore spot. But I think their team overall across the board is pretty good. That's what I would say.
Yep. Matthew, was a great episode. We say good luck to the Giants. Hopefully they win it. Go to the division round. That'll be awesome. Going to be a great weekend of football. Hopefully the Knicks continue to roll the Rangers. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching.